So what that leads me to believe is that the credit problems are widespread, that the credit problems are infecting other areas and not just real estate. Because the basic math here, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, is when a bank, say somebody comes in and they borrow $100,000. So that's a loan. What the bank has done is created an asset. It can then what's called hypothecate that money into, in effect, and this is rough numbers, but in effect they can now have $10,000 that they can then turn and loan out. So they loan $10,000. Don't know why my pen's acting up. They can loan $10,000 and then they have an asset. Imagine that. And then they can rehypothecate the money down to $1,000. Now, my understanding is that at this point is where the hypothecation ends. So the pyramid scheme only goes 3 levels deep, if you will. So these banks, if the underlying asset, which is this $100,000 loan, defaults, the question is, what happens to this? And then what happens to this? So if you've created money out of an asset that's no longer viable, what happens then? Well, what you do is you put a bunch of these together and you put them into packages. Some are called credit default swaps. They put these things into massive tranches of mortgages, some performing. They mix them in with performing loans, and they sell them off. So then they sell them off, they get cash in, which then in turn is an asset which they can loan out. You see what I'm saying? So the process just goes, the wheel on the bus goes round and round. So what happens when, say, Bank of America has $100 billion in loans and 75 billion of those are no longer collectible? What happens then? Okay, so like I said, I think the problem is quite a bit more widespread given the fact that we have several countries coming out all at the same time talking about injecting liquidity, so to speak. So what I'm doing now is, bear with me here. Okay, so here's the latest from the UK. Here's the RICS house price balance, down 40.6%. The prior was revised downward from minus 22. Lowest reading since May of 05. Okay, that's today as of 6:57 Eastern. So now we have, this just hit the wire. U.S. House has approved the AMT fix, protects about 23 million people from, from being hurt by higher taxes. It's actually one of the smartest moves they've made, although it's interesting. I'm going to comment on that in just a minute. Here we have the EU. So the ECB's Caden coming out seriously concerned about Eurozone inflation. U.S. economic developments are key for Eurozone economy. Closely monitoring inflation situation. U.S. exporters are profiting from weak U.S. dollar. Absolutely they are. Basically, when you see the European Central Bank saying that they're concerned about inflation, it's the same as being hawkish, which means higher interest rates. Bear with me, I'm getting back to some of these earlier announcements today. Actually, I'm sorry, I was trying to find the announcement for the injecting the liquidity.